Welcome to the Igniting the CEO Within podcast, where we interview successful, high-level professionals to discover lessons they've learned throughout their career that can help ignite that CEO within you. I'm Mark McFatridge, and I'll be your host for the next 15 minutes or so. Our show is sponsored by Quaid, a nationwide community of CEOs and entrepreneurs. Quaid has developed Launchpad, which offers an opportunity for experienced executive coaches to become licensed circle directors. After completing the Launchpad program, you'll lead your own peer advisory circles, helping other CEOs and entrepreneurs excel in their professional and personal lives while providing a community of accountability, challenge, and support. If you'd like to learn more, go to quaidcircle.com. I get to hang out today with Daryl Lawrence out of Kansas City, Missouri. Daryl is a leadership and career coach who I'm really excited to talk to. Daryl, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
Daryl, you've got a really unique background, and I want to hit a lot of that. But over the course of your life, and now in the profession that you are coaching folks, you get to see all kinds of leaders, and you get to see some really, really great leaders, and some that maybe aren't great yet. What if you had to kind of identify one or two traits that separates those really great leaders from the others? What would those be?
Well, number one, a great leader puts themselves in the back of the room, not the front of the room. And he looks for those people, or she looks for those people that are ready to be in the front of the room and helps them grow into that, encourages them into that, and understands that a lot of the times it's just simple fear that keeps people from progressing.
Hmm.
You got to remove that fear. A good coach and a good leader will find ways to remove the fear. Some of the coaches that I find struggle the most, and leaders as well, are those that think they need to fake it till they make it.
Mhm.
And the thing is if you're already there, you've made it. Now, what are you going to do with it? You don't have to keep faking it or doing all that kind of stuff. Put yourself backward, move to the back, and help those that really know the work and know what to do move forward. And be okay with saying, I don't know exactly what to do here. Let's talk about it. Let's figure it out. They don't have to be the expert.
Daryl, that's really good. You laid out a bunch of stuff in there, and would love to start to unpack it.
Sure.
The putting yourself at the back of the room is I agree with 100%. How do you get people to do that? Because it's not natural, right? You've fought and you've clawed, and yeah, and worked your way to that position, and it kind of goes against that natural tendency to always be always want to be at the front of the room or the head of the table or whatever. How do
Right.
you get them? How do you get them to take that step back?
So if you look at my background, you see musical instruments because I started my career as a musician. And I'm actually a percussionist. These are my hobbies, guitars and ukuleles. I'm trying to learn to do those things. But I spent 9 years on the road playing music as a percussionist, a drummer. And what do I explain to leaders now is it's important to be at the back of the room. That is the most important place to be because as a drummer, you're always at the back of the stage,
Mhm.
but you're the one that's anchoring the whole thing. It's your rhythm, your timing, your consistency that allows everybody else on the stage to do the things that make them flourish. So as a drummer, I learned early on, my job is extremely important because if I
Mhm.
screw up, everybody else on the stage screws up. But if I just stay back and keep that foundation, then everybody else on the stage has a chance to excel. So I really encourage leaders to understand the importance of building that foundation for those that are supposed to be at the front of the stage.
Yeah, I love that. So, I'm sure you were significantly more successful in your music career than I was in my baseball career, but I was a catcher,
Oh,
and so
yeah,
similarly to a drummer, right? Like, you're kind of behind the scenes. You're wearing a mask, you're wearing all the equipment, but you're also the only position that can see the entire field at one
right.
time, and with calling pitches and positioning people and all that kind of stuff. you're actually putting people in position to be successful. And I think that's a lot of what you're talking about that leaders should do.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And observe. You really need to observe. And that's what's the beauty about being in the back of the room or the back of the stage, or, because you can observe. Just like you said with the catcher, you can observe what's going on in the field. And guess what? When you're a catcher and you can observe that, you can actually signal out, hey, shortstop, I need you to take care of second base because I'm going to throw down,
Hmm.
and these kind of things. So he can send those signals out, and the rest of the field, guess what? They get the praise for doing the double play. They get the praise for making the catch that nobody else can catch. And that's what a catcher wants to have happen.
Uh, and so I love that analogy to a great leader, right? Is the great leaders, what I've seen are the ones who, when things go really well, they step into the background. When things go wrong, they put themselves up and shoulder a lot of that blame. Again, that does not seem to be innate, right? You have to learn that. And just curious, how do you get people to almost put their ego aside? Which at times the ego is what helped get people to that position. But how do you get them to put it aside for the good of the organization?
Boy, you just landed on the one thing that is so messed up in our corporate world. You just landed on it. They have been rewarded and moved forward and advanced because of their ego. And then they get to the upper echelon, they get to the CEO, the CIO, chief operating officer, whatever one they get to, then they get afraid because it's like, okay, I'm in a realm that I'm not used to. I'm in a realm that believes that I'm this guy. And inside you go, I'm not that guy. And then leaders freeze up. They freeze up, they take control, they try to clamp down. They want everything to show that they're the smartest people. And the first thing that I say to leaders is make sure you're never the smartest person in the room. Because if you are, everything's on you. Now, yes, step forward and take the accountability and the responsibility to free up those that are afraid of a mistake they just made or something that didn't go well as planned. Step up, give them the freedom to sit back and learn from whatever's just happened. Give them the freedom to sit back and think, where did we go wrong, or where did we go right? And let them express that and hear from each other of the thoughts about how do we move forward. Organizations are suffering because they don't work as organized organizations.
Hmm.
They work as top down leaders most of the time. And those leaders, I can't blame because they've been rewarded to be that way for so long. So you ask me, how do I get them to do that? I'll give you a brief example. We were in a meeting. CEO was very upset because software didn't come out the way it was supposed to, had to do a back out of the system. Um, Customers were upset, and the CEO started demanding, do this, do that, do this. And I sit and listened for quite a while. And then after we got out of that meeting, I looked at that CEO and I said, when's the last time you wrote code? And they kind of looked at me and go, well, I don't write code. I go, you're right. You don't. You just spent 45 minutes demeaning the people that write the code that your company is dependent upon for customers to use and buy and you know tell other people to use it as well. But yet you're telling this guy you know how to code better than he does. Now, if I sit you down in a machine, what are you going to code? And that CEO was lost. But it just woke him up. Oh, you're right. I can't demean the people that actually provide the product that I'm trying to get the company to sell. So
Yeah, love that. I love that story. That ties into another thing that you talked about in kind of your opening was, another role of the leader is to help their teammates achieve their goals and their professional desires and all that kind of stuff. How do you go about doing that too? Because sometimes you can get selfish as a leader and say, "Look, I don't want to lose Daryl. Daryl is really talented, but he's going to outgrow. We only have one CFO position, and it's filled with somebody who's equally as talented. But I want to help Daryl grow." But I also want to keep Daryl. How do you walk that fine line? Because you can be selfish for your own good and for the company's good, but that's not necessarily in the best interest of your teammate who's trying to grow personally and professionally as well.
Well, the company's interest is that teammate. And if that teammate doesn't feel that he's going to move and advance in the company as a leader, you should have that conversation. And if they're not going to be able to advance to the level they need to advance in the company, find a company where they can. Because that person then is going to move on, but they're going to talk about you as a leader. They're going to talk about the company they came from. They're going to take ideas that you instilled in them and help them grow somewhere else. And that's not worried about competition. That's worried about growth. And that's not worried about your company's growth. It's worried about that person's growth. Because if you're growing people, even if you have to grow them away from your company, if you're growing people, you're growing your business, period. But if you're so focused on keeping somebody, if you're so focused on that selfish mode, all you're doing is damaging your company. Because what's that person going to talk about when they leave your company? Because they will, no matter how
Mhm.
hard you hold on to them, they'll eventually outgrow you.
Yep.
And if you're a good leader, you've helped them outgrow you. I have a 20-year-old son and 16-year-old twins. And I also have a 45-year-old son. That's hard for you to say. And a 41-year-old daughter. They've grown up. They've left the nest. They're no longer living with dad. That's wonderful. Those two old ones. Right now, I can't wait for my other ones to grow up and leave the nest and go out in the world and make their own, you know, way in the world. It should be no different than with the teammates you're working with, the people you're leading at an organization. Help them grow.
I could not agree more. I think you nailed it. That's it's and as you said, the company benefits anyway, right? If
Yeah,
people are continuing to grow and doing what more than what they're supposed to do, which is what you do when you grow, your company is going to benefit. So continue to have that benefit, and then it does come around. I'm a firm believer that it does come around, just like you said.
it
Yeah.
absolutely does. It absolutely comes around. And as a coach, while I'm working with leaders, I'm also working with those that report to them. And what I'm starting to look for when I get into those coaching situations is where are those people that want to grow to the next level? And I point them out to the leader and I ask permission. Can I help them grow into where they want to go? Can you help them grow into where they want to go? And in coaching, it's not just coaching the CEO, CIO, COO. It's coaching those underneath to understand the stress they're going under, the stress
Mhm.
that the CEO is going under, the stress that the company's going under. Because if that teammate understands those things, they're going to look for ways to help. They're going to look for ways to grow it. They're going to look for ways to make a difference for the leader, for the organization. It's just a constant circle of return. Give and return, give and return.
I love it. I love it. Daryl, as we start to wrap up, I'd love for you to do one thing. Could you share with our audience what a typical engagement with you looks like and how can people get a hold of you?
Ah, well, they can reach me at dflawrencesenior at gmail.com. That's DF Lawrence SR for senior at gmail.com. Um, if they reach out to me in that fashion, the first thing that I'm going to do is just ask them, what makes you happy every day? Just what gets you going? What makes you get out of bed? What is that thing or those things that make your world good? Okay. And then I simply start working toward listening what's getting in the way of those things. What's what's stopping you from having those moments? What's creating angst in your life? And when we start comparing the two, then we start trying to focus on, are we looking at the right things? Are we thinking about the right things? Do we understand ourselves well enough to try to understand others? And that's where we begin. Then we get into the, what problems do you have? What solutions are you looking for? Those kind of things.
I love it. I love it. Daryl, this has been a blast. Thank you for
Thank
hanging
you.
out with me.
I've really enjoyed it. I appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely. All right, y'all, we've done it again. We found another amazing leader to share his insights on your pathway to the CEO seat. As we wrap up, I want to remind you that Igniting the CEO Within is sponsored by Quaid, a nationwide community of CEOs and entrepreneurs. Quaid has created Launchpad, which provides an opportunity for experienced executive coaches to become licensed circle directors and significantly impact the lives of CEOs and entrepreneurs. To find out more, visit quaidcircle.com. Until next time, keep igniting that CEO within you. I'm Mark McFatridge. Thanks for listening.